wants to benefit him and not harm him. Therefore, the lower one must receive from above according to what the lower one really needs. This is why he must pray for his poverty, that he has grievances that the Creator created him with a will to receive, which he feels is causing all the evil in him and causing all of his troubles. Afterwards he can ask to be given the kingdom of heaven, for he has already been given vessels of bestow and can already receive faith called the kingdom of heaven. That is, one cannot attain the burden of the kingdom of heaven called faith before he has vessels of bestow, as he says in the quote, "It is a law that the creature cannot receive apparent harm from the Creator, for it is a flaw in his glory that the creature should perceive him as doing harm, for it is inappropriate for the perfect operator. Hence, when one feels bad to that extent, there is denial of the Creator's guidance upon him. God forbid, and the operator is hidden from him. Therefore, first one should receive strength from above to have a second nature, which is the desire to bestow. Subsequently, he can ask for another decree, which is David, meaning the kingdom of heaven. It follows that the prayer of the poor delays all the other prayers, meaning that before the poor receives his wish, one cannot acquire higher degrees. This is why it is written, quote, "A prayer for the poor when he's weak." End quote. Then comes the second prayer, which is the prayer for David, being the kingdom of heaven, when he asks to have faith to feel the operator who operates with his guidance over the entire world. This is so because now he can already perceive the Creator as doing good, as written in the since he already has vessels of bestow. Thus he can already see how he is doing good. It follows that it is impossible to obtain faith, which is the kingdom of heaven, before one has acquired the correction of the qualities to always be ready to bestow and not receive in order to receive. Otherwise, from above he is not permitted to obtain faith. This is regarded as the prayer of the poor, delaying all the prayers. That is, before a person reveals his deficiency, that he, as it was said, this is the law, the Torah that Moses set before the children of Israel, and it is written in the Zohar, it is forbidden to teach idol worshippers the Torah, and one who circumcised himself but does not keep the commandments of the Torah is as though he was not circumcised. As it is written, Jethro, if you make an altar of stone for me, you shall not build it of cut stones, for if you wield your sword on it, you will profane it. Although you wielded your sword on it, meaning he circumcised himself, he profanes it, which means that he profaned the circumcision. This means that even one who is circumcised and has Jewish parents is still not regarded as Israel with respect to the Torah, meaning that it is permitted to learn with him Torah if he is not keeping the commandments of the Torah. This is what is implied from the above words of the Zohar. It is written in the Zohar, and wine makes man's heart glad. This is the wine of Torah. For wine is the same number as secret. As the wine must be concealed and sealed, so it is not poured into idol worship. So is the Torah. It must be concealed and sealed, and all her secrets are poured out only to those who fear him. Thus the prayer for Moses, which is the Torah, is a degree that comes after the kingdom of heaven called fear. This is the meaning of the Torah being given specifically to those who fear him. This is also the meaning of what our sages said. The handfelin precedes the headin, since it is written, you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontal. Friends, let's look at the friends around us. Feel the warmth in their hearts. Warmth in our hearts. Those are the same people the Creator bestowed on us to reveal him. Those people who are always next to you, close to you in the light, in the darkness. This is true happiness. They are our next degree. They are our Creator. Rash writes in the article concerning above reason, the body is unwilling to tolerate loneliness. Instead, everybody has pride, and he is unwilling to accept a situation where his friend is greater than him. Thus, when he sees that his friends are at a higher level than his own, this causes him to ascend in every way. Again, from Rush concerning above reason, the body is unwilling to tolerate loneliness. Instead, everybody has pride, and he is unwilling to accept a situation where his friend is greater than him. Thus, when he sees that his friends are at a higher level than his own. This causes him to ascend in every way. Question for an active workshop. What does it mean that I see the friends standing at a higher level than my own? What does it mean that I see the friends standing at a higher level than my own? From concerning above reason, it see that can be obtained by attention of friends, new qualities by which they will be qualified to achieve vacat with the Creator, and all this can be said while he sees the merits of the friend. At that time it's relevant to say that he should learn from their actions, but when he sees that he is better qualified than they are, there's nothing he can receive from the friends. This is why they said that when the evil inclination comes and shows him the loneliness of the friends, he should go above reason. But certainly it would be better and more successful if he could see within reason that the friends are at a higher degree than his own. Let's read again. By the attention of friends, new qualities can be obtained by which they will be able to qualify for attention with the Creator. All this can be said while he sees the merits of the friends. At that time, it's relevant to say that he should learn from their actions, but when he sees that he's better qualified than they are, there's nothing he can receive from the friends. This is why they said that when the evil inclination comes and shows him the loneliness of the French, he should go above reason. But certainly it would be better and more successful if he could see within reason that the friends are at a higher degree than his own. Silent workshop. Let's imagine the friends as they stand at a higher degree. Again, silent workshop. Let's imagine the friends as they stand at a higher degree. Dear friends, in the first part, we'll learn a lesson from August 2002. It's based on the article, What is the gift that a person asks of the Creator? You can find it in Rabash Writings of Rabash Volume 1. We read the article in the 10. We have 36 minutes. Let's go to the lesson from August 7th, 2002. We heard the article, What is the gift that a person asks of the Creator, based on the Zohar. The truth is the vessels of reception, created by the Creator, and they don't change. However, in order for a man to use them correctly, meaning that by vessels of reception, he'll become similar to the act of bestowing, so the Creator helps him. He hides from the person his vessels of reception. He gives the person through the surrounding light a possibility to acquire a screen intention to bestow. To the extent that a person acquires an intention to bestow, the Creator reveals to him, releases to him his vessels of reception. And so, first the person acquires the intention to bestow, and then accordingly the Creator adds to him a will to receive. Then a person receives in order to bestow, which is exactly similar to the action of the Creator. This is basically the help that we get from above. On the one hand, there is concealment over the will to receive, and accordingly, concealment of the Creator, and on the other hand, through the method of Kabbalah, the method of how to receive correctly, in the vessels of reception, how to acquire a screen, and by the screen, by the intention to bestow, to then use the will to receive correctly. Then this means that the lights preceded the vessels. Who comes first? The Creator who created the vessel, the will to receive, and the person who wants to invert the will to receive in order to bestow. Here, the vessels precede the light, meaning that first we attain the screen, and then we add the will to receive to it, and therefore darkness precedes light. So there are two things that extend from the Creator directly and indirectly, and our problem is only to work on the desire, the longing for the screen. Accordingly, the Creator will release to us a part of our will to receive, and then we can use it correctly. This is basically the gift that a person asks of the Creator, meaning not vessels of reception, because they are abundant, and a person and the Creator is interested in man receiving. The goal of creation is to benefit the created beings. But the intention, the screen, that's what we need to receive from the Creator, and the desire for that is what we need to have to reach the desire to make an act of bestow, the intention to bestow screen reflected. Light doesn't matter how a person describes that, and the desire has to be complete, that, meaning that I'm better off dead said, that if I don't attain the screen, the relation to the Creator, then this whole life, meaning in no way I would agree to continue my life, but only to receive the ability to bestow to the Creator. If a person comes to that, he receives it. Of course, that requires great labor. Why? Because although the Creator hid the will to receive, he hid the will to receive, that is, opposite him, opposite feeling him, the pleasure of feeling him, but the beastly pleasure, the human corporeal pleasure of this world, he didn't hide. This is the minimal degree from which a person can rise. Meaning, what pleasures does a person need to ask to have a screen on as the first degree? You can't have no desire, no pleasure, no yearning to enjoy something. How can you ask for screens over what? The spiritual pleasures are hidden. The corporeal pleasures are revealed. Therefore, if on top of all corporeal pleasures, a person asks for a screen that he nevertheless wants to resemble the Creator, to yearn to him, to get closer to him, this means that he requires the first degree of kashar, meaning to reach a state where on the one hand he has no pleasures in this world, that nothing attracts him, compared to the Creator. That's one thing that's on the one hand. And then on the one hand the person feels in despair because there's nothing to fill him in this world. He just can't survive without something to revive his soul with. The soul in this case means vessels of reception, and he has nothing to enjoy, nothing to live, for he has no movement. He's in despair and helplessness. On the other hand, there has to be an attraction to something, otherwise, why is he asking for screen and correction? So on the other hand, there has to be a great yearning for the Creator. And these two datums, if a person acquires them in full, according to the data that's given to him, then he receives from above the first screen. On one hand, I'm better off dead with respect to this world, where I have nothing, I don't need it, and I'm love's sick with respect to godliness. Along with that, there has to be faith and confidence that yes, he can receive the screen, and that screen comes from the Creator, and he can obligate the Creator to equip him with the screen. All these elements, if they converge, if they gradually converge in the person one time, this is more, the other time that's less, and until they all converge into a single point. As we learn from the letter from page 70, and also the letter from page 64, that the person, his action, and the Creator, they become like one point, and then he merits the reception of the first screen, and then he feels there the existence of the Creator, and already the initial spiritual will to receive joins that screen, and he becomes an embryo. That's the gift a person has to ask from the Creator. And these things you cannot deliver from mouth to ear, so to speak, orally, rather the one who is ready, then he can ask. The Creator allows him to ask. Rabash says here that even people who observe Dan commandments as if they're whole and righteous, but this practical action does not point to the intention yet, and in general, they don't understand what the Creator is demanding this to is happening to us. He tells us about this in the middle of their article. Right. What does he say? He's asking the vessels of. He talks about doing it without intention. Page 240. Above. Yeah, page 240. If we look a little deeper in and thoroughly examine those who observe Torah and commandments, whether they want to be given vessels of bestow and to give in return the will to receive, the vast majority of the workers will say that they pass on this. Instead, they want to observe two commandments in order to receive. It follows that they have no need for vessels of bestow. For this reason, how can they say that the commandments that they labor and should give them a reward for which they have no need? On the contrary, they are afraid lest they will lose the vessel of reception called self-love, meaning certainly most of the world observes the commandments only in order to receive some payment for it in this world or the next. What is most of the world? Everyone besides those who acquire the intention in order to bestow, who acquire screen which is impossible to do except through the wisdom of Kabbalah. As we discussed yesterday, that the true work, the work of the Creator, is the wisdom of Kabbalah itself, serving the Creator, meaning resembling the Creator. You have any questions? It's written. I don't understand. The will to receive. God forbid. He never heard from me that I present or that I disqualify anything of what the people who observe Torah and commandments as the commandments that people learn. All right? I don't. Present it, but this is called the first degree, the minimal degree, this inanimate degree of sanctity that a person observes the way he was taught, and they didn't teach him about the intention, because the intention also his teachers did not know about. Intention means screen and reflected light that he can acquire through great exertion over many years with the help of the surrounding light that comes to a person through the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah. So we're talking about two levels. The popular level calls the path of landlords and the path of light, the path of Torah, through the surrounding light that a person acquires a screen. These are two separate paths. But God forbid there's no resistance in my eyes. I don't disqualified. I don't reject it. Yeh, you understand. There's Torah to those who are not developed internally, and there's a Torah for those who are developed internally. I started running around as if I was becoming religious, as if in order to look inside, and I said there's nothing there, and I started to yelling about all those people who made me become religious and keep looking. So there was Rob Fisher from Holland. I don't know if he's still alive. He was old. Maybe he told them, leave him be. There, those who need more time. Fix him with someone. So they matched me with this Rav Zilberman from Jerusalem, Isaac Zilberman. I went over there to study a bit. I learned the Safra, that's Neil, and a few other things. Meaning he understood. I don't want to say how much he was. I don't want to say anything about Rav Fisher, but he understood and he knew. And he said let him be. There are those who need a bit more, and in truth what they could do they arranged for me. However, even what I received in Jerusalem wasn't enough for me, so I went further until I found Rash. So there are all kinds, you can't say anything about it, and we know that over time humanity develops, and there are many who are looking for something beyond this life. Those who don't, those in whom the will to receive is still within the framework of this world, let them observe what is written, do what is written, and their reward is an honourable one. That's it. Those who already, whose will to receive relative to spirituality is such that they are not satisfied with this world, and they don't need all those things that the other ones are doing. They need the intention, because the action for them is the intention, and coupling with striking. This is action in Kabbalah. Let them deal with that. So those things are separate. One is in corporality, one is in spirituality. One does not cancel the other. You don't understand what it means to yearn for spiritual action, for a coupling with striking called a commandment, and to receiving the light, which is called Torah, the holy names, where it's written that a person has to attain all of the Torah to acquire, as we say, a book of Torah to purchase right a property through reflected light. So all the holy names will clothe in him all the revelations of the Creator. So if you have a desire for this, a yearning, you belong to it. Otherwise study the Pentateuch. That's the Torah for you. But these two things are mutually exclusive. You have to understand that one does not belong to the other. God forbid. And I learned from the ribbon not to insult them. They want to insult us or harm us. They wish to prove to me that it's more, it pays better to be more developed. Right. One who adds knowledge adds pain. But who can remain this way? They don't understand. They can't stop development. There's a purpose for this world, and the world develops. But they also have with the Creator, right? There is adhesion in the Creator. But that's why they are called inanimate, or the still of sanctity of sanctity. But to which degree is this adhesion on the level of the inanimate? Minimal only in action. They do the action that is written and no more than that. That's why it's called inanimate. Why is it inanimate? Because it doesn't develop, just as you studied when you reach bar mitzvah age 13, right, to put on filling, to say everything, and from age 13 on you continue to be a Jew who is obligated to observe the commandments, events, and you continue until the end of your days, until 120 years, as we said. Right, you should not change anything, shouldn't add and shouldn't take away anything. That's why it's called inanimate. Inanimate means it remains in the same unchanging state, and in this state he has adhesion by being inanimate. He's constantly doing the same thing, and that's his degree of adhesion. That's why nothing influences him. The world can burn down. The world can be whatever they dare. Getting exiled. They come back from the exile. You go this way, that way, they go undergo eliminations, annihilations. The inanimate can hold on and get through all those things because it's inanimate, has what to hold on to, has a very strong point of adhesion and changing, that's it. Except there's a great flaw in this because he cannot he cannot develop, he cannot reach the purpose of creation. But this point inside is a very important point. That's what Balaam always told his students, that they should maintain this point of inanimate, the point of inanimate inside of them. There was this guy CL that came to him. He was a kid from the vision court. So after some time he told Balaam, I wish to be like you, like a Gasset, cause Bassam was wearing the clothes of a Gasset. Bass said, what is the what matters the importance? What matters the externality? On the contrary, you maintain your externality with all your customs. You remain aid of business. Why? Because if you fall, Rabash told me, because if you fall, you're falling. You know, if you fall, he falls his from the market. It's where he came from. But this the other guy, he will fall into a state of this. They continue there and gradually come out of it. And so he remains a Jew in some form. And this guy can suddenly get to India. Go to India. Go to the Far East or other places. That's why there's a difference in where is the people falling into. Meaning it's good to go to the inanimate of sanctity. And if you fall back to that. You understand, so I'm not going to cancel this kind of education. I'm telling you seriously, without it there will be no existence, no future for these people. On the other hand, you have to understand that it's not simple to understand this education. You see how many years are here? A year or two, a year and a half, and you still sit here and you argue with me that something is wrong. No, that the Creator helps us, right? He gives us the point in the heart. He gives us the vessels. He does everything. What about the vessels of bestow? Oh, you're asking this. We learn there. Creator is good who does good, and his goal is to bring a person to the end of correction, and the end of correction of a person, when a person develops his will to receive, to have in his, to be similar to the Creator in his actions, where Creator lays on to fill and like, not like you but spiritually right, meaning in the state of when he becomes great, rises to, and he makes these actions, they're called laying of the, it's a certain kind of coupling with striking, and then lights come out from above, from the front, from the back, right in the forehead, in the back, in the neck. It's called the knot of the to fill in, and that's what when Moses was rewarded with seeing only the posterior of the fill in, then he was rewarded with the face. But this is a separate story, right? So the Creator wants you to lay the two fill in like him. This is the meaning of resembling the Creator, right? So it's not exactly simply tying this little box on top of your head and a box on your hand. You have to think about this action spiritually, truthfully, right? So you're asking, okay, I'm sitting here for a year and a half. I understand that you also need to do that both in corporality and in spirituality. But why? How come those who observe these things in corporality, the Creator didn't give them a desire to observe the spirituality? Because there's no connection between the two. This is the answer. There's no connection. A person can do something, can observe it for 2,000 years, right? Lifetime after lifetime, incarnation after incarnation. He can keep the commandment of to fill in, and it doesn't grow in him. The will to receive for spirituality doesn't grow as a result of that. The will to receive for spirituality begins from the point in the heart that a person implants in a person. You understand? And this can be a secular person or a religious people person. And typically, it's a religious person. Typically, it's a secular person because a secular is searching for more. Why is he secular? Because they gave him a greater will to receive. The religion did not satisfy him typically, right? Or he was born this way. So he's also an inanimate secular, but observing Torah and commandments and corporality do not bring one to spirituality. They don't grow the will to receive. The will to receive is a totally different vessel. It's a spiritual will to receive. It starts from the point in the heart and continues onward to spirituality. You understand. You have a barrier. This line below this line there's a human. This human is a beast who is beastly. Desires right, money, honor, knowledge. And if after that he has appointed in the heart a desire for spirituality, it's a divine part from above. Right, it has nothing to do with the rest of his desires. You understand. So, a religious person observes his Torah commandments within the framework of his life here in this world without this point. This point is already something else. It's a desire for spirituality. You see those people as well, among the seculars and among the religious, and also among the Jews and among the Gentiles as Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Shimon, right? You see it. You see according to Rabbi Akhar's, right? There were converts that lived back then. Really, these things are according to the calculation of the Creator. They come from above. It's not a mandatory that a righteous father will bear righteous sons. Typically, can anyone tell you no, I have a book I read now, I can remember even the Moses, the children of Moses, his sons. Do you know their names? No, you see Moses, sons of Moses. I just happened to have seen it. Nobody knows. You see that Moses gave the Torah to. Yes, you are. Understand, it's not an inheritance. The point in the heart, they put it into someone, and that's how it works. It's also not my fault that I was given such a desire, and I'm working according to the desire just like everyone else. So the point in the heart, if it exists in a person, it exists. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. We cannot make it, we cannot force it to be revealed, although they are rewrites. Rabbi said that if you take a person and you sit him down in a group they yearns for spirituality, you will seemingly accelerate his development and Creator will reveal to him the point in the heart. What does it mean? The Creator will reveal to him. He will, through his accelerated development, as a beast, he'll reach a state where this point has to jump in him, and then it will jump faster, will shorten his time of development, whatever was left for him, until he feels the point in the heart. But Rar said that, although I'm writing it, he's like, although I'm writing it, I don't understand how is it possible, meaning it's very, very difficult, practically impossible, meaning it's certain that through the surrounding light, if he comes to the group and start to do maintenance work and work in the kitchen and sit with us and hear without anything, he must receive more. Surrounding society must change, but Rabish used to say that nevertheless, it's very, very difficult. That's why we need only people who have that point. We don't need the whole world, only this point. We need to hunt them all over the world. Why our network has to be this way all over the world. But we can only catch those individuals, and it can be among all the nations. If he yearns, it's done. It will come here. It will get cooked until it reaches the recognition of the Creator. If not, then no. Yesterday we went to the Mall Inn. A few friends from the line group came up, and your friends came out, and they overturned the table. They made a mess. I don't get mad at them. It's because lack of understanding. It's like, it's a baby who doesn't understand what he's doing. But certainly, it only brings trouble. They don't understand that there can be another type of Torah for someone else. As the Torah fisher who said and leave him, be find someone for him because he cannot relax with what you're giving him. They don't understand. They lack the mind of that Rav Fisher. If not for Rav Fisher, I would have left religion completely. As Rav Bunim said, yeah, I think. No, he said, this is 200 years, 300 years ago, right? He said if he didn't find Kabbalah, he would leave and become religious, become secular. He was so bored with that life without attaining godliness, and they don't understand if a person truly has a desire to attain godliness, when it's much more than all other desires. They understand that he simply can't have it any other way. They want to put him again in the dungeon, to be an ass by himself, a donkey. I remember they gave me and they said, study this from morning to night. This is the Creator's desire, and that's it. I couldn't do it. One step, another step, and another step. I went to a village of Kabad to learn for a few months. I went through a few portions, but without Zilman in Jerusalem, I learned the portion of Shabbat in Kabad. I went through the portion of Sanhedrin, Mitzvah, meaning a few things, but it's impossible to learn without a response from above. Baslam writes, and the ground writes the one who expects it who awaits it. Who is it? Only the wisdom of Kabbalah can bring such results. What does he write in the introduction to test? The Torah is try. He who feels that it's try must leave it and try his luck in the wisdom of Kabbalah. So what will you say? No. They thought nothing. They were not from any other group. They know us. Thank God. They simply don't agree because it's inanimate. You understand? It's clear. It's the reaction of the inanimate who cannot tolerate anything that grows from the vegetative degree, where vegetative is already, it eludes me. It escapes me because it's vegetative. I can't hold it in the ground in me. You understand? It grows. It runs away from me because every time you grow it happens when a person runs over, steps on the previous degree, cancels it. That's how the next degree comes always. You begin to hate. You begin to trample the previous degree and they're afraid of it. You cannot be on the vegetative degree unless you completely uncancel the inanimate degree in you. That's only that way you begin to climb from that. That's your foundation, your basis on the one hand. On the other hand, you have to constantly step on it. So they're afraid. Look, it's all big mistake. What can you do? And these 2 weeks, there was an office. That explains about Judaism. So imagine if they asked me for certificates. So I gave them, and I just wanted to donate a bit to show them what Kabbalah is. So it's hard to understand this conservative Judaism and progressive Judaism. They're also inanimate. However, what they chose an easier framework. I know it. I come to my mom in Canada. There's a synagogue. Everybody drives his own car on Saturday. On Shabbat, puts out his cigarette before entering the synagogue. Puts on his keeper, kisses the muezzin, enters the synagogue, and they go into the synagogue. Then they come out. They light a cigarette. They talk business. They go home. They made a lighter framework, but it's also a framework, and they maintain it very rigorously. By the way, they're really strict. There's a synagogue where my brother lives. He lives in a very expensive area. So this synagogue, it's a palace. Everyone has this, the seats, everything. It's all marble. I went in there. It's all lawyers and doctors. $7,000 a year to be a member just to come there. So I went there. I got in, the prayer started. 15 minutes later the sound for Sabbath went on. Typically you come to the synagogue, the collector comes to you. Who are you? What, please sit down. Nobody looked at me. It's like you're walking into a hall. But it's good. I'm serious, it's still good because before a person receives some sort of like a shock, a spark in the heart, so at least he's like a herd. He's got a place. He pays money for it. And gradually, he ripens. Another incarnation, another incarnation, another incarnation. That's it. A man like this or a man like that. Never mind. Except what? Well, if there's a need, the Creator will find him wherever he runs. Jonah tried to do it. We're not smarter than him. We too will not run away. It's a beautiful story. If we interpret it detail by detail how Jonah wanted to run away, it's more than a ran sitting there in the corner. The way he ran away, poor guy. And you see, it didn't help. It's a story about an escape from the duty, what each of us experiences, what it tries to do during the descent. Yes, cobblers always have the same degree. They can't be say that they're unmatched. Do they? Can it be that they don't understand each other or no? A Kabbalist who attains spirituality, who feels spirituality, you ask how can it be that he begins to feel differently from someone else? It's exactly as it is in this world. Just so, as many people as you have in this world. Oh, you have many people in this world. Scientists who have an argument between them. One sees reality this way, another a different way. It's not that the reality they see but the rules by which reality behaves they are disputed on, that this is something that's a little hidden and a little concealed. We both see a phenomenon, but you think that this phenomenon is happening because of this and that, and that's why it happens this way, before us. What happens before us? You and I see the same thing. But you and I don't see what is behind it in a higher degrees, not in the next degree. It can be 200 degrees higher, but they both reach that degree. No, we're seeing reality as in our world. You're not getting it. But the reason for what we see can be 200 degrees above what we attained. And then we begin to discuss, is it this way or that way? This way or that way? It could be this way. It could be that way. What's the argument between Andam? Didn't want to, but he wrote a little bit about it in the Gatehouse of Intentions. What he writes is just a little bit of what there is. The argument is very profound. For us, it's not really so, because Lash is wholly what you attained. For us, it's the word of the living God. But what he points to, like the reasons above his degree, that the reasons for what he sees are 200 degrees higher, and this he didn't attain. So there Baram doesn't agree with him. Baram reached higher. So he writes from the degree he attained. That is not wrong with what he gives you as a fact. The facts are correct, but his explanation about the reason for this phenomenon in this he's wrong, just like two physicists in for us. Well, there aren't such things, you tell me. There's so much of it because it's already about something that's hidden, not about what is revealed about the reason. The reason is hidden can be very high, meaning very remote. That's why among campalists too there are many disputes. It's legitimate. It's because in the end they are researchers. They search the research, the actions of the creator, and to the extent that they can be similar to these operations they attain it, and where they cannot be similar they don't attain, but the reasons are always above what they attain. And in this, in expressing the reasons, they can be wrong, something that what we do not attain, we do not define by a name. This is what happens. This is why there are disagreements between them. The reason you also have to attain it. You can't. So there are things that they attain it. There are things that they don't attain, which is the reason. It's just so about this as well. What can you do? Just like all the scientists in this world, there are those who really hate each other. You know, it's author's envy. You know what kind of hatred there is in this? It's more intense than because it's in the greatest degree of egoism in this world. In spirituality, it's also in very high degrees. It's not about beastly pleasures or money or honor or knowledge. It's in the knowing. It's in myself. It's not like I bought this car and you bought a bigger car or something. I don't know. We're not talking about this. It's knowledge in knowledge. It's envy and knowledge. In the greatest thing that can be in man, in this world, is it's awful. Where? What? They can do what they do to each other. But in spirituality, it's really those who reach higher see different reasons than those who are lower. So for him it's a what can you do. Let's say you write something. You write what you experienced, and part of you what you will write about what you experienced. There will be a part in it that you didn't experience it, but you write about it, like the reasons, like things that are the reasons that facilitate it, organize it, design the state you're in. So start writing, and you'll see that it's always like that. So in the part that you haven't experienced, what you experienced is true, because you can't do anything against the feeling what close in the vessel. We don't talk about it, but if you begin to talk about the reasons what is above it, and you're certain that, and you can be certain that you will talk about it, even if you're small in this, you can be wrong. This is why I'm saying that no one is permitted to express anything, not because of politics or something in this world, but because he is wrong. Then spirituality in a very, very fundamental way. Those who haven't crossed the barrier, you can't talk to him. He has to be very careful with what he writes, and after the barrier too. You write about the degree where you are what is above it. Someone will come in the next life and will dispute me and will trash me. Of course, by all means, it's out of fact. It's out of life. It can be this way. So there is no confidence. There is confidence up to a certain degree, but we don't need more, because in truth, it doesn't matter for us. Why? Why do I mind about those sublime reasons, and where I can be wrong in them or not wrong in them. We see from our life that what I think I'm wrong or not wrong in the end, it doesn't make a difference. What makes the difference is the amount of labor, not how much you understand with your intellect or don't understand. So it's not a problem. You can easily read the holy like is holy, and that for us it makes no difference if Kabbalists are aware of what you're saying. So how can? Believe me, what I know the Kabbalists also know. What are you talking about? But it's like science. What is absolute science? No. God forbid a person writes, there's nothing absolute. In reality, what does he write it? There's even a title, a headline. Godliness, there's an absolute for the degree where you receive a screen and acquire it. If up to that degree, it's absolute. Above that degree for you, it's not an absolute. It's all relative with respect to the person attaining. And in the end of correction, when everybody, we don't talk about the end of correction. At the end of correction, it's written until Elijah comes. Then there will be no doubt, nothing. Then there are no disputes. Yeah, it will be very boring. There will be no arguments, nothing. It's written right until the Elijah comes. Elijah will come, will explain the questions and problems. No. Yes. Well, in that article writes a lot about states that a person goes through. All kinds of states of complete the desire. A complete desire. Wants to remain or not. All kinds of things. How from reading about it, we read many things. How not to just get confused. That I can skip over some states or all kinds of illusions. You read and hear articles, or my explanation. You cannot determine how it will influence you. You can't determine your own thoughts, the line of your own thoughts, and for what. You simply need to accept it. Listen to it. As I said, take it. It's as if like it's a meat grinder. Grinding. Yeah, meat grinder. You just have to take it through you, and that's it. It goes into your ears, and whatever it does, that's whatever it does there. Never mind at all. It's not for you to determine how it should act on you. I was asked on the internet too, how do I come to this or that quality I wrote? How can it be that a person should reach this or that quality? How do you know you should reach it? Maybe you're trying to reach it, meaning when you reach it will be in a year's time, and in the meantime, you have to go through other things. Do you know the structure of your soul? Do you know what you need to think now? You must do what you can do. That's it. And the rest of the things happen. You draw the light shines on your structure, and that's it. You're a chemist. You know there's a big molecule. Yeah. Let's say a molecule. Maybe we don't know what is more than that. What is a gene? Who knows what a gene is? You know something in this molecule. You have billions of parts. They're all connected to each other, and each one is connected to everyone else, by the way, because it's a spiritual molecule. Each one is connected to everyone. So that's already a problem in corporality too. But in corporality somehow they wanted to simplify it. You understand? So each one has its own character in that structure. This one is greater, one is smaller, and the connection between things changes. In other words, the structure itself is the same, but the weight of each part is different, and the connection between the parts is unique between the parts. So it's like a skeleton in our body, the same SK. Everyone has the same skeleton. The difference is in the inner things, in the bones and that. So I'm smart enough. So am I smart enough to know in such a complicated structure that I don't know and don't even feel, and I hear about it. Now for the first time can I be smart enough to determine what should be more corrected. They're less corrected. They're in relation to this, in relation to what? It's stupidity. What can I do? Only bring a very big flashlight, that the more it shines on this huge molecule, the more it will develop, and lighting the flashlight and increasing the light. That's what I can do through studying Kabbalah. That's all. We have no other engagement in this. No engagement in this. Only to shed more light, that this flashlight lights on the structure of the soul, to add to it another drop of labor. Whether you want it or not, it goes inside, and no, so you begin to think and you begin to create some sort of compilation between things. How do I say? Compilation equation. Let's say so you work with your heart. You work with your mind. But also when you work with your mind and when you work with your heart, it's already a result of how the surrounding light shines on you and prepares your mind and heart to work. It is impossible that you go first. But if you want the light to do something for you next time more quickly, to accelerate it by all means. But perhaps making it quicker will be more unpleasant to fall, to fly, to get up, to run. I don't know what. Not very pleasant things. Never mind. But you cannot avoid it. You can only accelerate the development also. When you operate in this development, your relation to this developed, the development brings you a different feeling of the development, meaning even bad things seem to you as good. You accept them. You relate to them as good, and you experience them in your feeling as good. We say that everything we're doing is to change our relation. So instead of getting stuck with a certain relation, I do it and accept for blocks to do it constantly. I'm telling you, come here. When you feel bad or if you want to rush yourself, come here. Start working here, at the center. Go into the kitchen. Ask. I don't know if they will let you. Many people want it. Oh, okay. So, come to the kitchen to work. Come here to clean something, to fix something, organize something, do something on the internet. Never mind. Do some work, and you'll see how much quicker you come out of it. The more the work is with your hands, with your physical body, not with a spiritual effort. Like writing, translating, then it is easier. This is very good. If we each of us could be given such work, abundantly physical work, there's a reason. You got it for no reason. Yes, the kitchen. And let's say we're in Bristol, and every time you take a bigger microscope and see that the group is in, but never attains the true essence of things. I don't understand. Your demand. You're asking this, why does it take so long? That's the question. Right. The question is, we learn about we see how infinite it is, how it keeps growing. So could there be a state? You're asking this. If it's extended from infinity, it should take infinite time, right? So, look, I'll tell you about the matter of time. Everything has an end. Scientists to say that this world exists, 20 billion years or something. I don't know what they think. Oh, they're saying something else already. Never mind. I don't care. It's totally unimportant. Now, how many times has man existed? 1,000,000 years. How long has the point and heart in man's body existed? 5,700 years since the first time it was revealed in a man. Since Abraham, it's 3,700 years, etc. You see that the development is very slow, but the more we are approaching the end of correction, the development is accelerating exponentially. I don't know how to say it in Hebrew. The acceleration, I don't know, but it progresses not in a linear way, but like this. We see how, over the past 20th century, the world has advanced like it didn't advance for 2,000 years, and what happened in 100 years, and today will advance in 10 years like I don't know, like the previous 2,000 years, etc. So that thing is now, but still, that thing takes a long time, because our general structure is so complicated. We don't know it. We don't understand that we incorporate, that we contain an endless vessel, each of us, in which there's only one dot that's mine. The rest of the dots are not mine. It's from the rest of, and the rest of the dots I have to add to myself in order to bestow, to absorb them within me, to know them. Like I don't even know my own dot, to relinquish it and connect with everyone, with all the other dots, and build a vessel out of it. With that vessel to turn to the Creator, begin to copulate with Him in order to bestow. So in short, these are very, very slow operations. Not because they're slow in and of themselves. The corrections are very quick. Billions of operations, if you can put it this way, every second. There's no number to the operations, and there's no time, so I can't tell you. I'm just throwing numbers so you would understand. But even though it's millions every second, you know, it's like a computer. Even though it does so many operations per second, you still sometimes have to wait and wait until you want to. You want to drink information from some place to inhale it. So you sometimes have to wait for half an hour until it comes to your tiny wire from some big data bank. So the same goes for us. So it seems to us like we're standing still. We are advancing very, very quickly. I'm telling you more than in corporality, as much as there are changes each day in corporality, in spirituality it's far more than that. And compared to the millions and billions of years that we've evolved previously through all the degrees of still vegetative, animate and speaking, and now in spirituality, our pace is now at such acceleration that you will see how in a year or two what will change in the world. I don't think that so quickly they'll stop turning our tables in the mouths. This still doesn't change, but we will change. I can't understand the question. When we come to the general correction, and a person finally receives his true vessel that is connected to all these other parts that seem to him before as external parts that are in all the people, they begin to be felt in him that they are actually his parts, his own parts, and he's accumulating them together. And from that accumulation it creates one big vessel in which he feels the Creator to the fullest. He makes a coupling by striking with the Creator, with the light. It's the created being with the Creator. So he makes a coupling by striking with the Creator. The striking is only with respect to the will to receive or person. So it's not in order to receive. So it's in order to bestow. He doesn't strike the Creator. God forbid. It's not the way we speak in words that strikes the light. It sends it back. It strikes its own desire, wanting to enjoy directly. So a person begins to absorb the Creator within him, who is what he is. It's as if he begins to swallow him to the extent that he becomes similar to him. So inside, what happens later is after the created being and the Creator become united as one without any difference between them. Other we can't talk about it. It is said that there is a way that the infinite way actually begins infinite. Because for us now, and self no end means that there is no limitation on our part, on the reception of the Creator within us, on attention with Him. So we have no limitation on our part. We're talking about the limitation. There's no limitation that puts an end. But afterwards, when our vessel is without any limitations, then we move into this infinite movement. We move into the Creator more and more and more. There it's already. Okay, let's share impressions from the lesson. What from it are we taking to implement in the 10? Hello dear friends. We have the privilege of studying the study of the tense. Now let's begin with an intention that we heard in lesson today. It will help us prepare our intentions correctly. We heard from Love this. What can I do? Only bring a very big flashlight, that the more it shines on this huge molecule, the more it will develop. And lighting the flashlight and increasing the light. I can do this only by studying Kabbalah. That's it. We have no other engagement. In this whole thing, no other engagement. Only to increase the light where the flashlight shines on this structure of the soul, to add to it another drop and another drop of labor. So beloved friends, let's hear Bob's lesson. We'll continue learning about the restriction, which is the first independent act of the created being. Let's do it together with an intention to draw light, and then we will open it together. We are going to read from the answers to the topics, the answers for the meaning of the words, starting from 41. Let's watch the lesson. Is there anything from the internet? Good. Yeah. We read here that it's actually when the light fills the vessel and independent desire awakens. This is this not clear. In phase 2 and 3 it fills it with lot of quality of soul, and suddenly it becomes an independent desire. No, in phase 2 and 3 there's no independent desire there. The development is in response even against the Creator. It doesn't want to receive. It's also planned. It came from the Creator. Because if I want you to enjoy, concerned about 2 things, that what I'm giving will be, in my eyes, the best possible thing, and what I give should also be, in your eyes, the best possible thing. So it can't be that I will give you the light of that I think that's the best thing, but you don't know anything about it, and you enjoy as if you live. It's as if a cell that lives. It has some kind of metabolism or something, and it lives. It lives. It feels. It understands. It suffers. It's happy. It's what does it mean lives? Where is that? area called that it's alive. So there's one alive, the creator and the part in the created being that can resemble him in the intensity of the feeling of the existence that's called the life part. The rest is dead. So the upper light, the emanator, the creator. Let's not get into this. When he wants to develop a created being, he has to be to take care of the desire in him, that the desire will understand him, absorb him, feel him, that it will be his friend, his partner, equal to him, if it was defined as a goal. So, the light isn't concerned of itself, but only to the desire how to develop it. And the desire must be on every stage, more and more, if not to resemble the creator though, to understand them more to be, better to be incorporated of all kinds of discernment to understand those different discernments, the contradicting discernments. That's why we see in these stages, expanding and distancing and then coming closer, and that are supposedly opposite actions, but specifically those opposite actions in all creations contribute to attaining the goal. Just the fact that you stand in this world with your two legs, he stood on Mount Olives, you can reach with his head to the heavens, otherwise it's impossible. So, the process of development of the created being starts from this world. Well, let's see. Well, let's go to a few definitions. We're moving to question number 41. Question: what is the circle? Again, question number 41. What is the circle? Circle. If there's no distinction of above or below between the four phases in the will to receive, it's regarded as a circle. Just as we drew here, there's no up or down. You can turn the circle in any way, that the other parts will be up or down. If this or this or this doesn't matter, what if you turn it around so it doesn't matter? The discernments between the circles is external and internal, meaning that this is the reason and this is the result of it. That's the only discernment meaning. That's why in the circles there's no time, only cause and effect. For now, we don't need to learn line next. We didn't finish this, so please let's read again. Circle: if there's no discernment of above and below among the four phases of the will to receive, it is regarded as a circle, like an image of a corporeal circle, where there's no discernment of up or down because of that. The four phases are regarded as four concentric circles, one inside the other, where it is impossible to distinguish from them up or down, because it's sphere circles. Why? Because it doesn't matter which way you turn it. It's more than three lines, that width, depth, and height. So we can't imagine anything else. But that's how we're built. So he says, imagine that from all sides you possibly can, that each are equal. Well, we're quick. Question number 14. What is expansion? Light that stems from the innator to the innated being is called expansion of light, meaning who determines that the light expanded, the emanated being that is in his vessels, the light is revealed, and revealed in different forms, supposedly distances himself from the form of the emanator and gets more and more forms that resemble a created being. That is called that the light expands inside the emanated being. It's not like if we pour milk into the cup and the cup fills and the milk fills the cup. There is no such thing in spirituality. In spirituality, if the light enters the vessel, it doesn't enter the vessel. The vessel changes itself and reveals the light. The light was there to begin with, just not felt. The vessel starts feeling it more and more and more and more, and then discovers the light that is in there more and more and more and more. The vessel makes the action and discovers the light and the revelation. You know what? Like, today there isn't such thing as there used to be. The old photos that it was on paper and you dipped it in some chemical liquid, and gradually the picture starts being clarified before you. That's called expansion. That gradually it wasn't revealed and it starts revealing itself. Who does that? The vessel. That changes, discovers a light in it. If the light works on the vessel, so we usually say that the vessel is the female. If the vessel reveals the light, so we say it's a male. Supposedly, who's the one to terminate? Who's controlling the development? So then you can say that a vessel can be either a male or a female. We call it her. Why? Because she does everything and changes everything. But when we speak about Mallet, we usually use female. There are so don't get confused in the differences. But the light that expands, it doesn't expand, it's in complete rest stillness. The vessel reveals it. So the revelation of the light more and more and more, you know you have a line of lights that each one lights up after the other. So the electricity goes through them and they light. No, each one of them reveals the electricity in it. Clear? Not so much. It's written here. Oh. So please let's read it again. Expansion. Light that stems from the emanator to the emanated being is called expansion of light. But in fact, the upper light is not affected by it. It is like lighting one candle from another, where the first is not lessened. It is called so because of the reception of the emanated being. Why is that important? To understand that everything depends on the vessels and not to expect the light to do any action. It's in complete rest. Next, we're moving to question 69. Question 69. What are the 4 phases in the will to receive? First, the light from the emanator expands as light of, which is the general vitality that belongs to that emanated being inside it. There is phase 1 in the will to receive, called the first expansion or phase 1. Afterwards, the light, the will to bestow, intensifies in that light, and the intensification of that light draws lighter from the emanator. This is called the first intensification or phase 2. Afterwards, that light of expands a great expansion, namely with the illumination of. This is called the second expansion or phase 3. After that, the will to receive that is included in the light from the first expansion intensifies and completes the measure of the will to receive. This is called the second intensification or phase 4. Yeah, you said before that the male and the female, the vessel can be male and female. Can you repeat that? No, I don't want to confuse you. The first expansion comes from the emanator directly. It's called phase 1. The first overcoming is phase 2. The second expansion, supposedly on behalf of the created being, that's phase 3. And the second overcoming is from the created being from phase 4. And then you have 2 expansions and 2 overcomings. The first expansion is youth because still the light is in complete control. So the second is an extended youth and it's a V. If the first expansion is He, so the second, we also for now call it He because in the 4 phases of direct light we don't perform any actions on behalf of the created being. It's still before the first restriction. It's the light bestowing into the desire in order to develop it until its first point of independence where it feels shame. Here there's already shame and restriction. Yek. I still don't understand. I heard you say before that expansion is like a male. I'm just trying to understand it. That's something else. The expansion is like a male that I said if it was caused by the vessel. We call the vessel as a male, a type of a male. If the work works on the vessel, so we say we talk about the vessel is a female. It can be a bake, she or he. So that's how it comes up. But it doesn't have anything to do with the expanding and overcoming. You're taking what I said into a different place. I didn't mean that. You understand that or not? No, so let go. What is light that is in complete rest and also expands? What does it mean? I just gave examples on the lights that turn on and all those things. The light doesn't expand. The vessel reveals it. The vessel is revealed by the light. The vessel either receives the light or not. Where vessel changes. And by the vessel changing, these changes reveal the lights in different ways every time that the light itself, there isn't the light, is the inspiration of the vessel towards something. Yeah, a joint question from why do we write with the kin, not with the he? It's in order to not use the creation, the creator's official name, in disregarding it, because it's the relation of the created being towards the creator towards a created being. When we actually write, it doesn't mean anything. I even saw it once in a church in Europe. You walk into a church and you see that. You walk into some circle. I saw it a few places, and you see, or you suddenly see a Jewish star or yad. I saw it in many places in Europe. I don't go inside, but from the outside, you can recognize it. What does that mean? Because it's the creator's relation towards a created being, meaning that's accepted around the world. That's a creator's relation to the created being before created beings, before everything. This is how the light works on us, bestows on us, and because holists relate a lot of forces to that, and power, and greatness, and it's the creator's relation towards the created being there. There are no words to express it, so that's why they don't want to use the actual name, and disregarding it, that you don't understand it only in the end of corrections it will all be revealed. That's why it's a custom not to actually write the actual letters down, but to use other forms that you change them a bit, that you hint about it, and we do that. Even though for the studies, if you write you start using it in all kinds of things. So if you use a city, we use it, but the name that awakens in us the creator's relation to the created beings. We have a lot of respect towards it, and greatness. What again? More, yeah, if expansion is revolution of the light. From the perspective of the vessel, what does it mean expansion? From the perspective of the emanator, it's expansion on behalf of the emanator, because that's the light that he emanates. He builds the vessels. Here, there's still, the light isn't revealed on behalf of the vessel, but on behalf of the light. The vessel still didn't do any action here of its own will, none. Phase 1 doesn't know what she's doing. Phase 2 and 3 and Phase 4, it's still development, but without awareness. We are done with this lesson. Yeah, let's move to questions and scrutinies. We heard about expansion, intensification. We heard about what comes from the light, what comes from the vessel. Let's bring up questions you can ask in the system. Thank you. I'd like to start with the we ended. That he says that the light makes the vessels all the discernments. So why did he still say that there's an overcoming? Also the first and second overcoming. What is it if it all comes from the light? The vessel is impressed by the light, and it was react to the light. It's still not the free choice of the emanated being. It's not an independent action, but out of the pressures like we see in physics or other systems where matter begins to certain way to pressure applied to it. So in the 4 phases of the red light, it all says unconscious evolution, where the vessel has to react according to how the light operates on it. So why is it called overcoming if it's under the pressure of the light on the vessel? So what's overcoming? It all came from the light. Why is it called overcoming? It sounds like something from the vessel. Yeah, it's intensification, but it's a reaction to the light. It's not a result of the vessel being independent and separate from the light. It's still within the operations of the light. You look without free choice like a person in our world. When he does something, but it doesn't mean he's independent or that he has choice. But it's all stages toward building independence. Maybe we can read 69. That's where he explains that the overcoming it is in the light, the quality of bestow over the quality of reception. But as you said in the 4 phases of direct light, you can't say that there's a real created being yet doing anything. We say that the lights and vessels cascade together. That's why it's called 4 phases of direct light of the direct light. That's how the light cascades and builds the vessel. So the fact that we say that in phase 1 there was already a will to receive created, that's right, but there's still no independence. It's still completely dependent on the light, and that's how it is the whole way. But there are 2 discernments in this expansion of the light from above downward in building the vessel. One is that the light of expands, that it's a purpose of creation. 2 is that the light overcomes on behalf of the correction of the desire, which is the light of mercy. Let's read 69, and then we can clarify it if it's in. Yeah. So 69. What are the 4 phases in the wall to receive? What are the 4 phases in the world to receive? The answer, right. So he writes first the light from the emanator expands as light of which is the general vitality that belongs to that emanated being. Inside it there is phase 1 in the will to receive called the first expansion or phase 1. Afterwards the will to bestow intensifies in that light, and the intensification of that light draws light of the emanator. Again he says then it overcomes the will to bestow intensifies in the light. We say that the vessel overcomes but it's still not the vessel, but in the light. The quality of bestow intensifies that. The root makes phase 1 feel that it wants to bestow. It so comes on behalf of the light. The light overcomes in the quality of bestow. The intensification of that desire extends the light from the emanator. So the intensification is also a planned operation by the creator. The creator planned it this way that the Kli would intensify. It's not the Kli intensifies by itself. The light planned that it would intensify. All the operations in the 4 phases of the red light are pre-planned by the creator. This is called the first, and the intensification of that light draws light from the emanator. This is called the first intensification or phase 2. Afterwards that light of expands a great expansion, namely with the illumination of this is called the second expansion or phase 3. After that the will to receive that is included in the light from the first expansion intensifies and completes the measure of the will to receive. This is called the second intensification or phase 4, meaning the vessel has already developed a yearning for the light. Why did shame engender restriction, and the restriction engendered the screen, and the screen engendered reflected light? We heard from love that the shame is a creation on its own, right? That topic is very exalted. Later on, we read about the shame, but the shame is what really awakens the vessel to do all the actions. It's the strongest force in reality. It's the creation on its own right. It's when the vessel knows the host standing against them. He knows the nature of bestow, and as we learned in one of the previous lessons, he reaches a recognition that he wants to be like him, adhere to him. Nobody forces him to restrict itself. But this desire to come closer to the Creator, to adhere to him, that's what awakens him to do all the other actions. Restriction, screen, reflected light, and so on. Therefore, as he said, it's not the shame that created the restriction, but the decoration the shame did not generate. The restriction, the reason why the restriction is called decoration, came up in his simple will as this says. French, as thank you for the lesson. Sometimes we learn that the second phase is already independent, that it chose to receive the light. Sorry, maybe said phase 4. Yeah, phase 4 is the second, overcoming. But here said that all 4 phases, even phase 4, is only the expansion of the light. So what are these 2 states? So let's look at definition number 14. What is expansion? Says this. Light that stems from the emanator to the emanated being is called expansion of light. But in fact, the upper light is not affected by that. It is like lighting one candle from another where the first is not listened. It is called so because of the reception of the innated being. Again, what is expansion? Light that comes from the emanator to the emanated being is called expansion of light. But in fact, the upper light is not affected by that. It is like lighting one candle from another where the first is not lessened. It is called so because of the reception of the emanated being. Today give 2 examples of that. He said, it's not like a glass of milk where you pour the milk into it. Rather the vessel is impressed and discovers the light within it. He gave an example. It's like lights that are connected in a line. So it's not like the current suddenly flows there. It might have flowed before, but there is a vessel that reveals it, and that's the lamp that translates the electricity into photons. So you see it. So you always relate to it from the perspective of the vessel, not from the perspective of the light. Any impression the light to. Let's look at the definition of light and vessel. So that's definition number 1. What is light? Everything in the world that exists as existence from absence, which is everything but the substance of the vessels, meaning besides the will to receive that is impressed by the light. The light itself is existence from existence. There's nothing new in it, so you can't say about the light anything unless it comes through the impression of the vessels. What is light and vessels? Question number 2. The will to receive in the innated being is called vessel, and the abundance that he receives is called light. So even in the 4 phases of direct light where we talk about expansion, intensification, etc., these are operations of the light on the vessel, and it speaks from the perspective of the impression of the vessel from the light that operates on it. This is always a perspective. You have two elements, light and vessel. The only thing that changes is the vessel. The light doesn't change. We're used to saying the lights operate on us, right? We learn that lights, surrounding lights, operate on us. It's if the light does operate, it does something. No, we are impressed from the perspective of the vessel, impressed by something unknown. And when we discover it or part of it, we call it light, the of abundance that is revealed in the vessel. And how does it happen? In the first restriction, with a new vessel called a screen and reflected light through the reaction of the vessel to the light. It studies it, calls it by names, gives it all kinds of operations. By your actions, we know you only the created being who is equal to the creator can give names to the light. Before that, you cannot name the light in any way because you have no vessel to receive it. So the vessel we're talking about is the intention to bestow with it. We can give all kinds of names to the lights, but it's not like the light is like this. The light is a name of the vessel, and now it's impressed by the light. What expands in phase 3? The light of or the light of. Phase 3 is light of with illumination. Of it's an expression of how phase 2 expresses itself. Phase 4 has parts in it as well. We also call phase 2 upper. It wants to choose, bestow wants to intensify and will to bestow on top of that from phase 4 because it's a continuation of phase 1. And that's why we say that its essence is so it wants to continue its operations or action. She understands that in order to continue, she must receive because the receiving is the purpose of Geishan. The Creator wants us to receive. So she engenders phase 3 which is light of like her with illumination of. We read in many places this illumination of is needed in order to sustain the vessel. But one of the characteristics of phase 3 is that it doesn't have any intensification. Is phase, it receives this of illumination of fern. So what's the difference between the light of in phase 2 to the light of in phase 3? It's called improvement of in phase 3. Light of in phase 2 is a desire of beer to be a giver she wants to be. Like Ketler awakens in her in Alf at the end phase 1. And then phase 2 notices discernments. It's a new discernment in the light. This is why it's called for discernments in the direct light. Who discerns the vessel that was created by the light? It calls the light by names. Phase 2 reveals something in you. The light doesn't change, but she, because she now has a desire to be like the giver, she calls that light by the name of, because her desire is now to be like the giver. It turns the light into light of. It's the same light of that you have in phase 1. So what happens in phase 3? So there's always a question about it. Phase 2 is that of. Why is it lower or farther than phase 1? Because by nature, if she's light of, phase 2 should have been closer to. Right. The answer is because phase 2 is phase 1 that wants to be like. It's not like there's no lot of in her. So Beaner always has abundance. There's no lack in it. But she wants to be like the giver, and this is why lot of is revealed in her. Then there's the question, how will she bestow? What will she bestow? To whom will she bestow? Because the Creator doesn't need anything from her. There's only the Creator and the created being. The Creator doesn't need her bestow. He created the will to receive. He didn't create the will to bestow. Where will to bestow is his quality. Then Beaner says, so in order to do good to him, I will receive from him. Or you could put it differently. Beaner wants to really be similar. Our phrase 2 wants to be similar to Ket. And ask himself, what did Keter do? How did he realize his will to his desire to bestow? He created the will to receive. Can I create the will to receive? No. I'm the created being. I cannot create the will to receive. But I can use this will to receive which I have from phase 1. The minute she uses the will to receive, because the light of controls her, because she wants to bestow, this is called a new discernment. She discovers in her desire a new discernment using the will to receive, because of her desire to bestow. This is why it's called expansion. Phase 2 is intensification or overcoming the light. Light of overcomes the light of. In phase 2 you have an expression of the light of by using the will to receive. This is why it's called the second expansion. So the actual expansion increases the light of. Yes, it's a higher expression of the light of. This is why it's called improvement of. Afterwards we see it in the difference between. Have many discernments in this. The fact that we can use that is always called a higher level of. We can also read more about the expansion in inner light. Inner light. Chapter 1. Go, inner light. Yes, so here the 4 phases were clarified that must exist in every created being. That the first expansion is called the second phase is called the first overcoming, or phase 3 is called the second expansion, or phase 4 is called the second overcoming, or the 2 expansions are considered male because they are the abundance that extends from the emanator. Because the first expansion is the abundance of the light of, and the second expansion is the abundance of the light of, and the 2 overcomings are the 2 females, because they are the awakening of the created being and the overcoming of the desire on its own. That the first overcoming is the awakening in the emanated being for the will to be so. That became the root for the light of, and the second overcoming the awakening of the emanated being after the will to receive. That became the vessel of reception in the all the wholeness, and that is called phase 4. So we see that there are many discernments here. Our time is up, regrettably, but pay attention that intensification and expansion are the root of many discernments later in the world. So we should study it more and more. Barisim says that the terms we have to as if put them in a box. It's true we need it for the surrounding light, but we have to try as much as possible to understand these terms. So if today we understood something more about expansion and departure, and by this we want the light to correct us,